Hello my lovelies, welcome to 2024 and welcome to my yearly reset video. I love filming these videos because I'm such a planning person and so I like getting my head in the right mindset to start a new year. So today I want to take you guys with me as I do some planning in my bullet journal, planning on Notion, and also kind of showing you guys my Notion setup, goal setting, vision boarding, and generally just getting myself in a good place to start the new year. If you guys want to plan along with me, feel free. And also I have a free goal setting template that is always available on my website. So if you want to pause this video, go to the link in the description box below, print that out, and then come back. You can plan along with me using that template. Okay, so number one, since bullet journaling is my primary form of planning basically for my entire life, let's start by going through and filling out my spreads in my yearly setup. Hello, voiceover Sophie here. So like I said, we're just gonna go through my bullet journal and go through all the spreads, and I'm gonna take you guys through my thought process for just filling out all of these. I always like to do it on camera for these type of videos. Obviously this is my cover page, we can flip right past that, and then the next page is my grid spacing cheat sheet and my year at a glance. These are both going to be empty, clearly there's nothing to fill out. Okay, moving into my future log. Now this is one I definitely want to fill out. My future log is a little bit more minimal this year than usual. I feel like I always have some other like calendar situation here, but like I mentioned in my plan with me video, all of these columns are only 6 boxes across, not 7, so I couldn't put a calendar in there because there's no room for the 7 days of the week. But basically I just put a lot of birthdays in here, number one. Anything that's on my digital calendar that I just have, you know, my repeated birthdays all marked in there. And I also, this is where I'm going to put any, you know, anniversaries, birthday parties, events, appointments, things like that that I can plan in advance. Just as a general thing, I talk about this a lot on my channel, especially on the How to Start a Bullet Journal video that I made, but since you're making all the spreads for yourself in a bullet journal, it's nice to have a place like this where you can dump dates further ahead, so that if you don't have your bullet journal setup made for like March, but you have a date in March, there's a place to write it down so that when you do make your March setup, then you can just migrate the dates from here into the March setup. So this is why I have a future log like this, just to plan very big dates throughout the entire year. At the bottom of this future log, I'm also going to put stats for my personal channels, like my YouTube channel, my Instagram, that kind of thing. I don't think I did this on camera, but I do want to keep track of those stats, and this is just a really simple way to write down numbers and keep track of it as the year goes on. Okay, moving into the next spread, this is my goals page. So as you can see, there's a box on the top left which has 2 columns, one that says went well and one that says did not. So this is kind of like a reflection on 2023 and just have a couple little bullet points of what I think actually was successful last year and what was not. One thing I put on the left was I launched my online shop in business last year, which I'm super excited to say that I did. I have my website, thumbingstudio.com, and my shop is on there. And what did not go well personally was taking time off of work. I feel like I'm very much a workaholic and I'm always working late into the night on something. I mean, I am, you know, in university, have my own business, my own YouTube channel. Also, I have a job. So like there are a lot of things I'm always working on, but I definitely need to still focus on maintaining that work-life balance. And it's something I really want to focus on this next year. Speaking of, and which is why I write this stuff down, is to focus on what I'm going to change in the next year. So on the bottom, you can see that I have a lot of different lines for main goals for 2024. And this is kind of where I'm jotting down just a couple very long-term goals. I'm going to talk about goals later in this video a lot, don't you worry. So I won't really go into much depth here whenever I say this, but I'm just writing down the main goals I'm going to have this year, just so I can, you know, have them in my bullet journal along with the other places that I'm going to keep them logged. It's always super satisfying to come back here and just check them off until the end of the year, where I hopefully have them all completed. Lastly, on the right, as you can see, I have this huge space for my letter to my future self, which I'm actually going to write on my own time just because it's very personal for me. Usually I like to write it upside down actually. That way I can't read my own handwriting until the end of the year, while I'll then flip the journal around and read it. The last spread is my book tracker on the left here, but as the year has just started, I have no books to put in here yet. I am currently reading Magnolia Parks and loving it so much, so that'll be the first book I write down, but I'm not finished yet. And then on the right, I also have a period and health tracker. I'm going to go through and write my period for the past 6 months to track, you know, progress and stuff. So I'm going to go in and write those in, but on my own time. All right, so we're going to come back to my bullet journal a little later in the video and talk about the monthly planning for January, but I want to do things on a broader yearly scale first. So let's just do yearly things right now. Next step is going to be vision boarding. So I love going onto Pinterest and finding images and making vision boards. It's such a fun activity. But I think before you can go look for like pretty pictures, you also have to think about your goals and just general plans for the new year. So I didn't film this. I did this maybe a couple days ago, but I kind of just sat down at my desk, took a few minutes with myself and wrote down a list of some goals I wanted to achieve this year. Like I said, I'm going to talk about goals in just a minute and talk about a more formal breakdown. However, this was just more of a brain dump and just just like jotting down any ideas I had, any plans or challenges I wanted to do this year. Once I had that list done, then I could go onto Pinterest and start thinking about a vision board. So what I like to do is take the goals that I've directly written down and like search up that in the search bar and see what kind of images pop up, because I know that directly correlates to what I'm trying to achieve this year. I created a vision board on Pinterest. It's just called 2024 Vision Board. It is public if you follow me on Pinterest, but I have about 56 pins in here, some inspirational quotes. I especially love this one that says you can do hard things. I love that image right there. And then if you scroll on a little further, I have a lot more images, pictures of different goals, aspirations I have for myself this year. Nothing too incredibly specific as far as the photos go, but I personally know what they mean. I know how they connect to the goals that I had set in a very general list a couple days ago. So then after I had taken all of those images off of Pinterest, I downloaded all of the pictures, imported them into Canva, dropped them into a random file, and started like reorganizing everything to make a vision board. I'm not a manifestation girly. If you are, then sure. But personally, I just like to visualize my goals just so I can keep them in my head and remind myself what I'm working towards by the end of the year. Personally, I'm a very like aesthetic focused person, so I wanted to pick images that, you know, had a similar color palette, very nitty-gritty specific things that no one has to worry about except for me. But basically, I reorganized the images and spent about 30 minutes-ish just reorganizing everything, putting them in random places. Nothing is specifically placed in certain areas for certain reasons, but I did want to kind of space out the different images of different things. And also, like, I put a couple images up there of like quotes. For example, one of them says, like I mentioned, you can do hard things. I love that image. There's also one that says be you, not them, which is super inspiring to me. So I kind of like spaced those out around the vision board as well, trying to keep things overlapping, but you still want to be able to see every image. I don't think this is my entire Pinterest board, but it's a lot of them. And like I said, even if the images don't make a lot of sense to the viewers or you guys, it does make sense to me because I know what goal it correlates to. Lastly, I just added a little bit of sparkles. You know, I like doing that little sparkle thing. It kind of goes with my brand. And after that, I had downloaded the image. So this was in a laptop format for a reason, because I've actually made this vision board my background of my laptop. So I wanted to make sure that I could see it every single day. I did this last year and I kept it as my vision board all year, and it was just super nice to be able to see it on my computer every day. It's like right here. Another place that I put all of these images, because I like to keep them consistent, especially during this planning process, is on Notion. And that brings us to chapter 3 of this video, which is going to be Notion planning, which kind of correlates with goal planning. So I want to talk to you guys about just a general overview of my Notion. I'm not going to do an official tour because not much has changed from my setup last year. So I'll link last year's Notion tour in the description box if you want to check that out. But I do want to kind of go over a couple things that I have adjusted and also talk about how to set up a Notion page. I'm not sponsored by them. I do have an affiliate. If you're interested, I'll have it in the description box below to go check Notion out. However, I do think this is a great digital planning platform, and it can be a little chaotic for some people to kind of get the grip of it. So I'm going to show you guys my thought process for all of this. So I have a couple pages on the side here: Goals, Mango Studio, which is my content planning, undated, which is contact planning for the company that I work for, scholarships, projects, and journal. The main one is goals, because that's kind of what this video is talking about. And as you can see, I have kind of miniature vision boards. So like the header at the top of the Notion has a big banner with images from my vision board. Every page has it. So if I go into Mango Studio, as you can see, there are different images, and these ones correlate more with content creation, which is why I put them here. So every single page has a different image that kind of correlates with the page that it's talking about. Also, throughout the pages, I like to include images. So as you can see, when I scroll down, I have multiple different images on every single cover here. As far as creating Notion pages, I'm going to go to a blank page here and just kind of show you the basics that you can start if you're interested. So I'm gonna go to add a page. So whenever you do the / for commands, there are all these different things that could pop up: text, page, to-do list, headings, all different types of tables, bulleted list, etc. However, you can also go to templates. Notion has a bajillion different templates for a billion different things. You can do to-dos, projects, and tasks, and these are already set up for you. They're different, you know, categories like recruiting, sales, HR, notes here, journal if you want to do digital journaling, that kind of thing. So many templates that you can work with. Anyway, with that being said, I'm just going to go to an empty page. I'm going to label it empty page. And I'm going to come up here. So you can add an icon. It can be an emoji, an icon. Let's do a little clock. And then I can add a cover. And this is how I added the cover image from my vision board. I go up here to change cover, upload an image, and I can upload the file of a Notion banner, for example, and it just imports in right there. This Notion banner I made in Canva, so super easy just to drop right in. In the page, you can tap the top 3 dots and you can change the font if you want to do serif, if you want to do mono. I usually do mono. I don't know, I like it. You can mess around with it. Let's say this is daily to-do list. I'm going to do the /, I'm going to do to-do list, and let's say do laundry. wash here, film bullet journal video. And then Monday, let's say that's just for Monday, and I'm gonna change this color to gray. For example, very simple setup, as you can see, a lot of different ways to customize it, so many buttons to play around and mess with. When I first downloaded Notion, it was a little confusing trying to figure out how to use everything. However, I kind of got used to it and accustomed to it. One thing for me is obviously I have a bullet journal, so I only use Notion personally for things that are on a very wide spectrum, because bullet journals usually for me are either on a 6-month or yearly spectrum. And so if things are constantly changing or if it's planning really far in the future, I keep them digitally. However, if you want to use Notion as a digital bullet journal rather than having a physical bullet journal, it is free to use. You can buy the premium version. Again, it's my link in the description box below. 100% recommend if you're into digital planning like this. Non-sponsored, again, but you can check them out. Before we get into the next part of this video, if you are enjoying it so far and want to see more bullet journaling and productivity content from yours truly, don't forget to subscribe down below so you'll never miss when I upload next. Let's go to chapter 4, which is specific goal planning. I want to do the Notion tour first because I'm going to be planning on Notion. I want you to be accustomed to what I'm looking at. But now that we're here, I'm just going to ignore all the rest of the pages and stay on the goals page. If you guys watched my videos last year, this goal setup may look a little familiar. However, I did simplify some processes, and so I want to take you guys through. Last year, I feel like I had a very complicated system. So this year, I want to kind of strip things back to the basics and also mimic what you guys have on your goal setting template that I mentioned earlier. So I'm a big believer in taking very large goals, breaking them down into small little sections, and then once you achieve them, they kind of add up to the big goals. That is how the goal setting template works. Setting one big word for the year, big pillars and categories of your life to focus on, and then within each category, setting a goal or two, and then steps to achieve that goal. Again, if you're interested, it's linked down below, but I've almost digitized it in my Notion here. Starting with the word of the year. As you can see at the top, it's very big, bold, and the word for me this year is connection. Over here on the right, you can see I have a 2024 bucket list that currently has one thing in it, and it is the same thing that I had on last year, which is girls trip. I also have a link to my vision board. This takes you straight to my Pinterest page, so if I want to access this here as well, there's a link. Scrolling down, so I have this gallery board with 5 different sections. This is what I'm talking about, the pillars of my life. Personally, for me, my pillars are spiritual, personal, relationships, career, and academic. I'm going to duplicate my academic section because, not gonna lie, I have already gone through and filled these out. In each of these pillars, there's a little section here of like random different numbers, and then you scroll down and I have a big image and just a word that says goals. Last year, what I had here was a little section for me to talk about my intentions for the year in like paragraph format, and then you would scroll down, there'd be more little boxes. Each box was a goal, you tap it, and each little box had more to-dos and steps to achieve it. Basically, it was a lot of clicking. It's like having a lot of folders and folders and folders, and I didn't think that was necessary this year. So what I did instead was I just had my 5 pillars, and each pillar would have a list of goals. That's it. Super simple. I only want to set a couple of goals in each category. I don't want to make it so I have like 20 goals to achieve this year. I'm just going to go down here under where it says goals, and I'm going to make a little checkbox. So academic wise this year, I want to maintain a 4.0 GPA. Another thing is I would like to earn a few more scholarships. I would recommend putting numbers behind this, and I think that is much more easier to quantify things. However, I don't want to have to say that online, so I'll fill that in a little later. I also want to join a club in my major or industry. I'm already in one club. If you guys didn't know, I am double majoring in film and marketing, so that's kind of the filmish side, but I also kind of want to join either a business club, a marketing club, so that is one of my goals this year. What I would recommend, and if you're following along with the goal setting template, as you can see, there is one goal, but then there's also steps to achieve that goal, and you want to write down that space as well. For example, going into join a club in my major university, I'm just going to go enter and tab, so there's like a little subcategory, and these are going to be the steps to achieve this goal. So that could be researching clubs at school, applying for 1 to 2 positions. And you can do this with any other goal at any part of your life as well. These are much more tangible things. The last thing on the goal setting template that you may have noticed are little progress bars. And this is because I love visually tracking my progress. It's like the best feeling to go and like color in a little bar. For that reason, I have little bars on my template, but I also have a digital progress bar here. I'm not gonna lie, I had to look up a YouTube video to show how to like go through and like kind of do some coding and like figure out how to do this progress bar with stars. I I don't know if I can find it again. If I can find it, I'll link the video below so you guys can follow it as well. I don't remember how I did it, but at the top I have completed units, and then down here I have total units. So these are the total goals. So I have 3 big goals, but I feel like it's a little easier to track the small goals. Let's just say I had 2 steps for this one, 2 steps for this one. So I had 6 minor steps and 3 big goals. You can do whatever you want. Personally, I'm gonna put 9 units in here. That way it's like when I accomplish every check mark individually, I can see a little progress bar move across. So let's say in a couple months, I've completed this one, and I completely joined a club. So that means that I have these all checked off. That is 5 out of the 9, which, you know, go future me. So I'm just gonna do is put a little 5 in completed units. And as you can see, the progress bar moved along to 56 units, or 56% of the way along. And if I swipe out and go back out here, you can see that the academic board has a little 56% on it, which is super motivating just to see my progress go along. So that is as much as my goals go. That's as far as I'm going this year. And then also if I scroll down, I have quarterly check-ins. So I'm gonna be doing these reset videos every quarter. I always do. But every quarter at the beginning, I want to kind of plan for the next quarter. I open this page and I have my image at the top, and I scroll down and I have 2 pillars. So one says word of last quarter and 2 questions. What were my achievements last quarter and what did I struggle with last quarter? And then there's another pillar that says word of next quarter, and then what have I learned to take into next quarter, and what do I want to achieve next quarter? So very simple, not simple questions, but kind of short questions. And this is kind of taking things from the very big yearly spectrum to the quarterly spectrum. And as you'll see in a minute, I'm also going to take that to the monthly spectrum. This is an unnecessary step that you don't have to do, but I love to come back 4 times a year and check in on my goals and kind of go through this process, because I feel like it's a good refresher to remind yourself what you're working towards by the end of 2024 and to analyze what you need to focus on specifically. I feel like this is really helpful for that. I'm going to put a little bonus chapter in the middle here, and I want to talk about my new plan for achieving my goals this year. I feel like that's basically what we've been talking about this entire video, is how to find ways to actually achieve your goals. Personally for me though, I like to set a lot of goals. As you guys can tell, I have 5 different pillars of my life that I focus on, and so that's kind of a lot to swallow January 1st. Like, okay, what do I do? What am I going to start with? How is this going to happen? And so I decided this year for myself, I want to try something different. And this may fail, this kind of experiment with myself, and that is only picking 2 goals max every single month to focus on. Now, obviously, I want to make sure that I'm working in every pillar and I'm, growing as a person. But as far as literally like when I think about goals, what I actively want to track every single month, I only want to do 2 things. And that way, hopefully, I can get like 30 days or almost 30 days straight of doing something, because isn't there like that concept out there that like if you do something consistently for 30 days, it becomes a habit? So then maybe, hopefully, if I can do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit and it's already instilled into my regular life. And then next month I can focus on something else. I'm not going to mention them here, they are personal goals, but I do have 2 goals for January out of the list. I just kind of picked one from 2 different pillars. Now, if I don't get 30 days in one of the habit, maybe both, I can migrate it to a different month. I can continue working on it. I feel like this is a much more casual but effective way of implementing change into my daily lifestyle. With that being said, let's move on to chapter 5 of this video, which I'm going to be going back to my bullet journal. I have my January set up in here, and I also want to fill out all of my spreads to be set for the new year in there as well. Okay, so we're back and let's do some planning for January. So like I said, now they've done all the yearly and kind of quarterly stuff, I want to take things down and do the monthly version. That way it's super specific for the next 31 days. So I have my calendar on the cover page here on the left, and I'm just going to go through and add some big dates, mostly birthdays, a couple holidays, a couple like things I have planned. When school does start again, I go back to university. I think classes start on the 16th. Then my calendar will get a lot more full because I'll have a lot more, things to add in. Not assignments, because I have a different page for assignments, but I will have, events to go to, maybe hang out with friends or something. So it'll get a little more full then. Moving into the next spread here. So I'm actually going to start with the chart on the bottom left. So there are 2 columns, one that says main goals and one that says to-do lists. On the monthly spectrum, I have a couple goals for myself for January. The first I'm writing down is prep for second semester. I need to get all my school supplies together as I prepare for another semester of university. I'm also putting women in business application because I am going to be joining a club. I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I already am in progress for joining this club. I'm super excited about it. I'm also going to list more goals here, but probably on my own time. I don't think we have to talk about it right now. On the right for my to-do list, my first thing is set up school notebooks, because I got some really big notebooks for my last semester, but ended up only using like a third of each. So for my next classes, I don't want to waste paper. So I'm actually just going to like tape those pages together and then use the next section of the journal for my other classes in the next semester. So I'm just have to go through and like organize that stuff for school to start again. Moving up into the focus box, this is where I'm just going to write a couple sentences of what I want January to look like for me. I was very broad talking about going back to university and a couple personal projects that I'm working on during break. However, after I finished filming, I also added 2 goals that I mentioned I was going to specifically work on during this month. Like I said, again, not going to mention them specifically, but you guys could do something very similar of just picking a couple goals to focus on. And that also directly translates to my habit tracker. So I have a couple very simple habits that I'm writing at the top, like Bible, water, vitamins, that kind of thing. But I'm adding a couple habits specifically to track the 2 goals that I'm working on. That way I can see whether or not I accomplished 30 days or almost 30 days of them and reevaluate as to whether or not I need to focus on them again for February, maybe later in the year, or if I can say that I've accomplished that goal, I've proud of myself, and now let's move on to focus on something else for the rest of the year. This last page in my January setup is my expenses tracker on the left and my academic plans. So I don't have anything to write here because the month has barely started, so I don't really want to write in expenses yet. And then academic plans I'll start working on when the semester starts again on the 16th. So I feel like my bullet journal is very well prepped and I cannot wait to start using it in 2024. I really hope by the end of this video that you're feeling as confident in the new year as I am. Again, if you are interested, I have so many links in the description box below. I'm going to be linking my free goal setting template that's completely free to download. It's on my website. I'm also going to link Notion, non-sponsored, but you can check that out as well, and my Notion tour from last year. But I just wanted to say that I'm so excited for 2024 and all things are going to come this year. I have so many fun plans with content specifically, and hopefully you guys will enjoy those videos, but also with my business, with academics, with my relationships and everything that goes on in my life. I'm just very excited for the new year and I hope that you guys are as well. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe below so you don't miss the next one I post every single week, and I will see you guys next week for a new video.